Good morning, friends. It's good to be here this morning. Thanks for joining Journey Home Meditation today for our morning sit. You're listening to The Painted Bird by Mark Deutsch. You can find that on multiple streaming platforms. And you can purchase it on Bandcamp, which I highly encourage. Today we're going to be doing a brief practice. Just a few moments of shared breath. And we may even just get right into Bell Hook's Appalachian Elegy. Get back into our practice there. But I'm Michael. I'll be taking us through some breathing practices and shared meditation and a little poetry today, and I'm very happy to be able to be here to do that, even when I don't want to. That's what we're going to work with today. Let's take a few breaths together. Just find your awareness moving into your body. And I know that sounds like some catchphrase that's being used. Bring your awareness here, bring your awareness there. But the ability to focus our attention is something that we have as a gift to our life. You know, it's one of the reasons we are still around, all these thousands upon hundreds of thousands, and maybe even millions, who knows? We've been here since as long as I can remember. And our ability to focus our attention in different places helps with that. But bringing that attention and focusing on ourselves is something that we can cultivate with practice. And the best way that I found is to bring my focus and attention to the feeling of the breath. I'm going to breathe in and out anyway, so using that as my inroad is really handy. So feel the breath moving in from the tip of your nose all the way down the body to the bottom of the belly. And feel the release. Stay with the sensation, breathing in. With the sensation. The sensation of our breath can tell us a lot about what we might be experiencing emotionally that we cannot quite put words to. It can give us an opening to feelings in our physical body that we may be very well accustomed at dissociating from. Following the breath and feeling how the breath feels as it moves into the body and out of the body can let us know how in touch and centered we are with our thoughts. All of these are invitations into deeper awareness. Breathing in to the body and feeling the diaphragm pull down, expanding my abdomen, and feeling that largeness that I have, I can check in on my physical sensations, my physical body from the neck down, something I'm pretty good at dissociating from. And I can start to feel the subtleties of the breath in my lower back and in my psoas and in the front of my hips, going down into my inner thighs to my knees. I can feel a tightness and a release with each breath. And that very subtle sensations of the body become magnified with my attention. What we bring our attention to becomes larger, becomes more apparent. As I move through the process of the breath, moving into the body and then filling my body and then releasing, I can feel the top of my chest, my clavicles, my upper back, my neck, as that breath expands all of the space inside of my chest as my lungs grow with the inhalation. And then I can feel as those muscles contract to bring my body down, closing in, expelling the breath. But I can also begin to feel subtle emotions as my chest is moving and my heart is being activated. I can feel the more quiet emotions almost like rising up out of my body and coming from my chest and my heart all the way up my throat and right out of the quiver of my chin. I feel the release in my left arm and I feel an awakening in my right arm as I focus on my heart. And with just a couple of breaths, I'm already able to hold my focus and attention on the entire in breath, the hold, and the out breath, and the hold with each breath, calming my thoughts. You know, I have been experiencing a level of ennui, I guess, a level of disillusioned with the ways in which I share this practice, the ways in which this um, broadcast and podcast and all of these things, the way that I have this all going. And some mornings I wake up and I'm find myself in thought, deep in thought that are negative thoughts. They're thoughts of not wanting to continue doing this, feeling emotionally triggered about the hassle that some of this requires, you know. And we start to often think that if this is a labor of love, then it should always feel amazing and feel great. And if it doesn't, then it must not be a labor of love. And I think that that's wrong. I think that that's wrong. I think that anything that we do, no matter how much we love doing it, it still has the capacity for exhaustion. And it still has the capacity for bringing us into an emotional depth that we were not prepared for. And so, as I've been feeling disillusioned with the formats in which I utilize this, the lack of engagement with people who are watching the video or listening to the audio or reading the posts, um, there is an energetic exchange that is being asked anytime that we're involved with something. And I believe that the internet has trained us to become such passive consumers that the only time that I see people really getting engaged and involved with the discussions is when they're angered. Or maybe not the only time, but that is the most common thing that I see. And so there's not a lot of energetic exchange occurring with this practice, and that feels a bit exhausting sometimes. And so these last couple of weeks, as I've been returning to the practice, I'm noticing that my physical body is responding in a way that's not favorable to the practice. I wake up and I'm tired, and I feel myself dragging or coming up with excuses. Oh, I'm going to do this one more thing, and now I'm going to do this one more thing. And these are all ways in which my brain has developed coping mechanisms to deal with something that I consciously don't want to deal with. You know, I'm sure that you've had this experience where something is coming up, you have a deadline approaching, and you don't want to do something, and then all of a sudden you find yourself cleaning out your drawers, your dressers, or you're deciding to organize the junk drawer in the kitchen, or maybe it's time you finally remove all of the books from the shelves and dust all of the spines and do whatever it is that is not doing the thing that you know you need to do. And I think these coping mechanisms that my body is creating for me is a way to justify putting off coming in for the morning sit. And I think it's because it's wrapped itself now in multiple layers of identity, multiple layers of my identity and the identity of Journey Home, perhaps. I haven't even really begun to dig and understand all of the ways in which the entanglements surrounding this practice is creating this tension. But I am grateful today for the space to sit and kind of work through that, because I do understand that wanting to do something is not the only requisite. And oftentimes, when we get to a layer of a relationship when it's just getting ready to go deeper, to get into some old wounding perhaps, and to open up some level of trust or level of growth that we're not ready for, we will find reasons to not do that. Think about how this maybe has played out in your life, how you have maybe encountered that place in a romantic relationship or a work relationship, or even an interfamilial relationship, a relationship with your child or with your brother, your sister, your sibling, with your parent. Um, When you have this functional relationship, but it only goes so deep. It only goes so deep. It's a loving relationship. It's a good relationship, but then there's this invitation to go deeper, and you notice that that's coming up when you start to get really annoyed, when you start to feel stuck in the relationship, when things are in cycles of repeat, wash, rinse, repeat. And oftentimes we leave jobs, drop out of school, do whatever it is to leave those relationships when we just go, I just found that I just didn't want to do that anymore. I just didn't want to do that. It wasn't filling me with joy. And we've kind of created this cultural meme around that. But I'm questioning it. I'm questioning that need, that desire to jump ship when things no longer are exactly how we want them to be. Because as I do this morning sit today, even, I am starting to understand the importance of doing it even on the days that I just don't want to. So then I get an opportunity to identify what those feelings are that I'm having about any particular thing. For me right now, it's this morning sit practice, this sharing. But in other instances, it may be why I'm feeling this hesitancy to go to work, or why I'm feeling this resistance to do my schoolwork, or why I'm feeling this resistance to be connected with somebody I'm in a relationship with, an old friend, or talking to a family member, a close family member. It's the same processes. We have an opportunity when we start to feel that feelings of boredom or resentment about the lack of energy exchange, an opportunity to understand what that is. What is it that I'm feeling? How does one feel lack? And what does that mean? That's getting closer to it right there. So I'm going to continue doing this practice so that I can figure that out, because I think that that's going to be helpful for me in my life to work through understanding what that feeling is. And the only way I'm going to be able to understand what that is to work with that feeling. So I'm going to continue working with this feeling. I appreciate you for being here. I would appreciate it if you take the time to engage with this practice, sharing a little bit of your experience if you're motivated or moved to do so. Sharing these sits with others is a way to allow someone who maybe could benefit or would enjoy being a part of this conversation to be here. 4 years I've been doing this, sharing this publicly for free. And I would really like to hear from others out there what you think. I've got people that I know listen every day. I see the numbers, I see the stats, but I don't have a lot of engagement on this. And I'm curious because I look at what people do engage with on social media, and it's mostly vapid manipulation of your emotional states. So I'm curious what it would be to engage from a place of inspecting our own emotional well-being instead of contributing to our emotional unwellness. But let's do some bell hooks, and then we'll go. This is number 25 in Bell Hook's Appalachian Elegy, Poetry in Place. Soil rich with lime, grass beyond green, turning toward blue, hills of plenty, all but gone, bent under the weight, all human greed, we speak then, tell of a God of miracles who moves mountains, yet man-made steel ravishes this earth, all for coal, deep and black, a destiny of burning heat, covering flesh and ash. Soil rich with lime, grass beyond green, turning toward blue, hills of plenty, all but gone. I think it's clear that Bell Hooks is talking about the absolute disrespect and degradation of the Appalachian Hills through, um, coal mining practices, strip mining, mountaintop removal, all to sell that coal to power machines. We speak then, tell of a God of miracles who moves mountains, yet man-made steel ravishes this earth. Yeah. A destiny of burning heat, covering flesh and ash. So, yeah, this is definitely, I mean, it's clear that this has a direct relationship to coal mining, but also I think that this speaks to our tendency to overuse and abuse these things that bring passion. And in doing so, we abandon what's already abundant about ourselves. Think about, and yeah, I'm going to apply this to what I'm witnessing with social media. Recently, I reignited, for the use of this metaphor, I reignited my Facebook, and I did that because I was taking care of my father, and I needed to look on Facebook Marketplace when I was back taking care of him, uh, to see if I could find him some items that he needed. And I'm having a different relationship now after having 6 months away from social media, and that way away from Facebook. The level of engagement's different right now. I'm going to be deleting my account again. I'm just enjoying seeing how I react differently after that long break. But I see that people who I have been in relationship with for many years, and we've had senses of humor, things made us laugh. We really just pursued joy together for years in our life. And there's a hyper focus now on increasing the division of themselves from everyone else. And doing that through these emotional fit throwing outbursts. And I do it. That's one of the reasons, the main reason probably, that I left social media in the first place, is this is not a character default or character fault. Also not our default. This is a well-crafted design that this social media touches in on your most tender emotional places that trigger activation and response. That's very well designed. It's built into the system. So when we get engaged with something like that, that's built to destroy, in a sense, that profits from that degradation of your multitude of coping mechanisms, bringing it down, narrowing it down, getting down to one or two reactive mechanisms, then you engage. You're in constant engagement with the source. And that's very much like these man-made machines of steel, yet man-made steel ravishes this earth. We tell of a God of miracles who moves mountains. Now I think about all of my friends and people in the world of spirituality, talking about spiritualism, they're talking about spiritual matters. We'll talk about love and acceptance and loving all, and we will talk about these things, the God who moves mountains. But then we rely upon these base sources of emotional entanglement to engage. We engage out of anger. We engage out of disgust. We engage out of separation and pity. We engage out of desperation and need. I used to engage with the people that I loved about the things that we loved. And if I were experiencing something difficult, my people would be there for me, built in. It was built in. Now we have man-made steel ravaging. And it's like that. We have this way of communicating with one another through the internet that engenders our most base emotional reactivity. And we just let the things that are important for our sustainability get taken away. Our ability to have engagement about things of meaning, things of deep personal growth and revelation and understanding and vulnerability, our ability to make a mistake online. People don't make mistakes. They argue to the death. They die on hills. Our ability to be vulnerable and say, hey, I think I'm learning that my way of dealing with these things in my relationships have been really damaging because I've come from a very damaged place. That's just not occurring right now. And that's what I'm asking. I'm asking those who listen to engage with this level of engagement. See what it does. See if you can be vulnerable. See if you can explore together. Because this is not a practice of individualism. This is not that. And it appears to be becoming that. And I wake up in the morning and think, I'm not going to do that again today. I'm not going to contribute to the individual healing of people in this world, because healing the individual as the individual secures the notion that they are an individual. It's not what this is for. We are not separate beings. We are separate bodies of the same being. The entity of life, the entity of all life, consciousness runs through all of us. What affects you affects me. What affects me affects you. Differently, yes, our bodies react differently, and our bodies may have some slightly different needs, but at its core, we need to understand that we require one another for our regulation, for our health, for our growth. It's just that simple. Even the monk in a cave on a mountaintop is fed with a bowl of rice that they did not harvest. You understand? We need each other. That means we need to engage with each other. Otherwise, we're just stripping the mountains of our being for the resources, and losing those green and blue grassy hills and all of the abundance in the meantime. Thanks for being here. We'll see what happens in the future. Be well.